Hello, I'm Joe Haley, Education Director for ASI University Trios Campus. That's what we call our Training and Development Department at ASI. And this is Learning to Lead, 10 Lessons in Leadership. Let's start off and talk about leadership qualities. Think of the leaders that you admire, and it could be a coach from a high school or college team. It might be a teacher that you had in school. Maybe it's a former boss. Maybe it's a current boss. But look at those qualities. What are the traits that they possess? Are they good communicators? Do they listen well as give good advice? Are they empathetic? Are they supportive of you, your role in the company? And are they understanding? These are just a few of the qualities that we see in leaders. And through this class, we're going to give 10 tips or 10 lessons that lead to better leadership skills. Leadership lesson number 10, strengthening your soft skills. Emotional intelligence is essential for good leaders. Handling pressure well, knowing how to cooperate with others, being open to feedback, and having empathy for others leads to success at work. Emotional intelligence classes are great opportunities to really do some self-reflecting. And there's several pillars that we talk about in our EQ classes. And that is being aware of our own emotions and being able to control those emotions. We talk about those distressing emotions that come to the surface when we're in stressful situations. Knowing what they are and being able to control that, not suppress that, but control that, makes it easier to work. Leaders are able to clearly and specifically communicate visions, goals, skills, and intentions, and expectations. If you've had a really good leader in the past, a good boss in the past, I'm sure that they were a good communicator. Practicing active listening and being open to talk about yourself in a frank, non-defensive manner will allow you to better connect with your coworkers. Now, active listening is a skill. It's something that can be practiced. It's something that needs to be worked on, but it's really being present in that moment and listening to what someone else is saying. I read something once that says that our brain is always multitasking, which means that once we're ready to respond and we know what a response is, we stop listening and we don't hear the full message. I also read that we don't listen to hear or learn, we listen to respond. So being present in those conversations and really listening actively to someone will really help. Leadership lesson number 9, make more connections. Employees with more connections have more influence. I mean, think about that. Think about your network of peers, whether it's within your own organization or outside your organization. When you have a larger group of peers, it's easier to accomplish things. You have people you can rely on, people you can go to. Collaborate. High performers spend as much as 4 hours or more per week working closely with others. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be working on projects. You can work closely with others to learn what they do, how they do these things. That can be very valuable because not only does it build your skill base, it's going to allow you to do things without really having to rely on other people so much in the future. Do not be afraid to show what you don't know. Lack of experience can lead to questions that may connect you with more people. I mean, one of the things that we find is sometimes with our new college recruits who come on board, or sometimes it's the interns, they're afraid to ask questions because they don't want to seem like they're not capable. But when you're in a new environment and you're learning new things, you're probably going to have some questions. So ask those questions. And not only ask those things that you're unfamiliar with that you need to know, ask questions again of others. What do you do? Why do you do it? How do you do it? What is the benefit for that? Leadership lesson number 8, practice humility. This is a symbol for humility. It's called a duenamin, and it literally means ram's horns. It symbolizes that even the strong have to be humble. The symbol is a bird's eye view of 2 rams butting heads, and the ram's horns symbolize strength and humility through the characteristic of a ram. So, say thank you earnestly and often. Look, our mothers were right. Please and thank you are the magic words, but sometimes it's easy to just admit them through our conversations. Someone helps you, you should say thank you. Someone supports you, you should say thank you. Someone compliments you, you should say thank you. So it doesn't cost you anything to use those two words. Start more interactions with four simple words. How can I help? I mean, it's the best way to learn, uh, what actually makes an organization run. By not just knowing what you do, but knowing what others do. And the best way to do that is, how can I help? What is it that I can do? Honor people with your time and devoted attention. They will honor you back with their commitment, hard work, and trust. Kind of a two-way street here. Okay? You need to be there for other people if you want other people to be there for you. And do what you say you're going to do, and do it well time and time again. If you commit to something, you have to follow through. And you've got to be consistent with that. Leadership lesson number 7, focus on your goals. Plan your own SMART goals and formulate action plans that you can commit to in order to reach your higher potential. Now, if you're unsure what SMART goals are, each letter is going to stand for something. So the S stands for specific. So you have to be specific to what you want to accomplish. Say you were in sales. Specific would be, I want to grow my sales by 25%. Not specific would be, I want to grow my sales. The M stands for measurable. Is that measurable? It absolutely is, because you can compare this year's sales to last year's sales and see where you are in attaining that goal. Is it attainable? Sure, 25% increase in sales seems legitimate and attainable. To say that I want to grow my sales by 1,000%, probably not so attainable. So don't go too high with what you want to accomplish, but don't also make it too easy where you're just easily stepping over the bar rather having to jump over the bar. Is it relevant? Is it relevant to you and your position and what you do? Is it relevant to your company and the department that you work in? And then finally, is it time-based? It needs to have a due date. I want to increase my sales by 25% by the end of the fourth quarter. That would be, and you can create SMART goals for no matter what your position is, just not for sales. Set goals that are outside of your comfort zone and tie them closely to the broader corporate goals for maximum impact. What's something that you're uncomfortable doing? One of them might be public speaking. And you might have opportunities to go to local Chamber of Commerce events to give presentations. You might be able to go to a client's office and give a presentation to a board of directors. If you are outside your comfort zone, when you learn those skills and you're presenting on behalf of the company, you're taking yourself out of that comfort zone. You're doing something that's new, and it is going to tie into those broader corporate goals if you want to try and gain more clients. Be accountable. Pair goals with frequent check-ins with your manager to assess progress and overcome challenges. If you don't have one-on-ones with your manager, it might be something that you ask to have one-on-one meetings. Those could be weekly meetings, bi-weekly meetings, monthly meetings. But what that does, it keeps you and your manager on the same page. Nothing falls between cracks, and it will make you be more accountable because you know exactly what is required of you. Leadership lesson number 6, request regular feedback. Make it clear to your manager that you're interested in frequent feedback. Many companies still go with the annual review towards the end of the year. Some companies changed it up and have done quarterly reviews or even monthly reviews. And then we go into the one-on-ones that we just talked about. How frequently do you have those one-on-one meetings? That's your opportunity to get feedback from your manager. If you've completed a job and you thought you did particularly well, ask how you did. Does not have to be in an official meeting. Ask to schedule monthly one-on-one check-ins to gauge your performance throughout the year so that you'll always know where you stand and where you can improve. Okay, we've talked about that the previous slide. We talked about this slide as well. Those are invaluable. And go beyond your manager to seek feedback. Get it from other sources, including coworkers and clients. In the annual review process, that's known as 360-degree feedback, and you can do that yourself. Talk to your coworkers. You can talk to your clients. Ask them, "How am I doing?" Or you can go to your manager and ask them for your annual review to talk to some of your clients, to talk to some of your coworkers that you work closely with. They'll have a better overview of what you do. They know what you do as your job, what your role requires of you, what they see, but they might not see how you interact with others. Leadership lesson number 5, maintain a positive attitude. No one respects a grumpy or negative person. Think about that. Is there someone in your life, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's someone you work with, that is always negative? They have that dark cloud over their head all the time. You don't want to be around them because they bring down the energy in a room quickly. You want to avoid them. So if you are that negative person, you've got to find that positivity. Being positive makes it easier to build a network of advocates and champions. Again, think about those people in your life, the ones you want to be around. What's their attitude like? Are they positive all the time? Do they see the silver lining in things? Because optimism allows you to see beyond the problem and recognize potential solutions. If you're overly pessimistic, the issue there is that you get stuck in the problem. Get stuck and you can only focus on the problem and how bad it is, and this is terrible. But when you're more optimistic, you can identify that problem, but then you can move past it. You can move past it. You can start to see possible solutions. It's not so dire right now. And positive enthusiasm is motivational. It makes others feel appreciated. It drives their confidence and productivity. Again, if you were put onto a team to work on a project and there's someone who's a really positive person there, you're going to be excited about that. That's going to motivate you. When I go through my workday, I try to remain as positive as possible. We talk about in our EQ classes that no matter what a bad day you're having in the morning, you're fighting with your roommate, your spouse, your partner, the kids are being difficult to get on the school bus, traffic was terrible going into the office, the dog got out, you had to chase the dog down again, you didn't have any coffee, whatever the case is. Once you cross that threshold into your place of business, whether it's a home office that you work from, whether it's an actual building that you go into, once you cross that threshold, the positivity has to be there. You've got to leave all that stuff out in the parking lot. Okay, when you leave the office at the end of the night, you can pick it right back up and be sour on the way home. But you have to be just as positive as possible throughout the workday. And it really does make the workday go so much better. Leadership lesson number 4, master time management. Getting the job done on time can quickly make you a workplace star. But here's the caveat. It's got to be right. It can't be full of errors. Getting things done in a timely manner before a deadline is great. But if there's too many mistakes in there, too many errors that need to be corrected, if that work needs to come back to you to fix it, that's going to be an issue. So commit to those deadlines and make sure everything is as it should be. Chunk, block, and tackle your goals. So your goals are the bigger picture that you're going to get at your annual review. And within those goals, there might be several projects. Within those projects, there's usually tasks that need to be done to complete the projects. So what you want to do is chunk those projects into individual tasks. You're going to block some time on your calendar to address each task, and you're going to tackle that task on its own, each individual task. I'm not a fan of multitasking. I think there's too many inefficiencies in it. You cannot give 100% of your energy and your attention to one project when you're giving it to 3 or 4 things at the same time. So just do this one thing at a time. Master your to-do list. Everyone should have a to-do list, and you can have it in a variety of different formats. You can have it on a pad where you rip off each page when you need to go to the next page. You can put it in a spiral bound notebook. You can use a daily planner, a monthly planner, a weekly planner. You can also use digital versions that you can find online for free, but you need to write things down. I always say this about a to-do list. Um, like at home, if my wife says, we need to paint the garage, well, that kind of just sits there. Once it goes on a post-it note and it goes on the refrigerator, it becomes more tangible. I see it and then I get it done. So commit things to your to-do list. Okay. And with the to-do list, you want to consider, which time management experts say is that you can accomplish 9 things in any given day. Okay. 9 things. That's going to be one big thing. It's going to be 3 medium-sized things, and then 5 smaller things. So when you put 9 things on your to-do list, it becomes manageable, and you can probably finish them. The one thing that people forget to put on their to-do list are meetings and education. Are you taking seminars? Are you going off-site to a seminar for half of a day? That's part of your to-do list. You need to put that down, because you might be having a big project coming up, and you might have a 2-3 hour meeting. That's a big chunk out of a day. Put that on your to-do list. When you start to overfill it with things, it becomes self-defeating, and it can be a real bummer. So master that to-do list. I prefer to write the things down, because then I can check them off. I can draw a line through something when it's finished. Again, when we go back to our time management experts, they say there's real value to that. That the pleasure center in your brain starts firing, I think it's dopamine, and you get this good feeling about what you've just accomplished. And by physically checking that off, that's going to help. Prioritize wisely. This is something that some people struggle with when it comes to that to-do list. What do you do first? Do you take those little things that'll take you 15 minutes and just get them done? Get them done, out of the way. But is there anything that you're avoiding? If you've moved something from 3 different times from one day to the next and next and next, you might have to look at that and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Am I just procrastinating and I don't want to get down to it? And there's very many reasons as why we do procrastinate. Or is it something that I'm really unsure where to start, or I don't have the skill sets and I'm just putting it off? Is it something that I hate to do? Mark Twain once said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that if the worst thing you have to do each day is eat a live frog, that's the first thing you want to do when you get up in the morning, because the day can't get any worse than that. So think about that. What's your live frog? What is it? If you're procrastinating, you want to just get it done. It's like the saying, just pulling the Band-Aid off, just taking your medicine. But prioritize wisely. And there are some methods that you can use, that you can find out there on the internet. One of them is called the ABCDE method, and one is called the Eisenhower Matrix. And they'll let you take a more critical look at your to-do list, put them in areas where this is the order that I'm going to do these throughout the day. Be organized. Organization is important. Everything has a place, everything in its place. For summer jobs, I worked for manufacturing companies. They hire summer work. And every one of them that I worked for had the same type of shop kind of rules, we'll call them. So at 7, the first bell rings. 7:05, the second bell rings, you should be working. At the end of the day, 15 minutes before quitting time, bell rang, and that meant it was time to clean up. So you cleaned up your workstation. Any tools that you got out of the tool chest, you put back in there. You organized, you swept up, you emptied the trash cans, put the bags out in the general collecting area. Because what that did, when you came in the next day, you're ready to go. You're ready to start working. You don't have to look for, where's that tool that I need? Where's the diagram I need to find? It's all right there. So organization is key, and that's not just your physical desktop. That's also your work desktop, computer desktop. Look at your emails. Try to get to 0 inbox there. And with email, the one thing is, when you start that next day, Instead of going right into your inbox, look at your calendar, look at your to-do list. What is on your schedule for the day? Leadership lesson number 3, refine your communication skills. Emails leave a lasting impression. Once you've sent it, it's not going away. So we have to make sure that we're buttoned up as best as possible within our emails. And that goes for other forms of communication, whether we're using text messaging with clients, with coworkers, whether we're using Jabber, some other chat platform. That doesn't go away. And when you think about it, your email is corporate record, okay? And it can be hard because we use email in our private lives too to communicate with friends and family members. But we're a little more casual there, and we skip corners, and we need to remember that when we're sending work emails, we shift the brain into that work email mode. Aim to be more clear, concise, and actionable. No one wants to open an email that's got a big block of text in there. So shorter sentences are going to be better because you're going to have fewer words to have to read. If there are actionable items in there, if you need to ask someone 3 questions, a good tip here is to bullet those items so that they stand out from the pack. Again, if you've got a big block of text and there's 3 questions in there, people might miss them. People sometimes just go to scan through them. And if they keep scrolling down and there's more and more text, they might just say, yeah, okay, whatever, I'm done with this, and might miss important things that are buried at the end. So clear about the message and concise. Get right to the point immediately and do your explaining later. If you have a question, do it politely, but ask that up front. Okay, and when you get a response or a question to your question, then you can explain it. But again, people are busy. They're receiving their emails. You don't want too much fluff. I mean, you want a nice, greeting. Okay, maybe with how are you doing and such. But then get right to that point. Make the next step clear. If there is something that the receiver needs to act upon, you need to say what that is. You just can't let it sit there and have them say, I think I need to respond. No, what's the next step? What's the response? When do you need it by? And mind your manners always, even with coworkers that you have a closer relationship with that you consider a friend. Because what it does, then it starts to build bad habits where then you become a little too lazy or a little too comfortable and you start using language that really wouldn't be professional in emails with others. So just always with your friends too. Mind your manners. Please and thank you again are the magic words. Leadership lesson number 2, learn from weaknesses and failures. Success is not about avoiding failure, but learning from it. It is okay to make a mistake. We just don't want to make those mistakes over and over again. Embracing failure allows us to take more risks. Coming to terms with having failed and survived allows us to take greater risks. I've coached youth soccer for 30 years, and I think there's a lot of things that are relatable to sports and to the business world. And one of them is failure. I work with the youngest kids, and if you know anything about youth sports, it's very common to have these coaches and parents screaming from the sidelines and telling these kids what to do. And I tell my parents, I don't do that, and I don't want them to do that. Let them play the game. Well, they're little kids. They're going to make mistakes. But by screaming at them, all they're going to do is listen, okay? That's what they're going to accomplish. By letting them take those risks and they fail, when you come off the sideline, you can talk to them what the problem was. And then they can start to recognize those situations and do something different. So they learn from that. They see those things. And then once they take those risks, then they can take greater risks too, which is what it's all about, right? So don't be afraid to fail. Being honest about shortfalls and learning from mistakes will earn you respect and trust from others. Sure, raise your hand. It was me. I did that. And then we can talk about that. And I think that the manager is going to respect you because, they see you being honest about it. And then you can work through it together. And failure teaches us humility. We talked about humility being one of our lessons. We feel humbled after losing and recognize that we are indeed human. You know, if we can manage that time and we become that rising star, the superstar, great. But when those reports or the job has errors in there, that's a little bit of, a failure there. So, humbly accept that and we can make those, corrections. And again, just understand that we are just all human. Leadership lesson number one, always be growing and learning. Gain knowledge, self-knowledge, knowledge of others, knowledge of our industry in the field of leadership. Self-knowledge, I can't recommend more taking a class on emotional intelligence and do that self-reflection. Knowledge of others, when you have opportunities to network, whether it's at industry events, within your company, with clients, take advantage of it. Talk to people. People are fascinating, and you'll learn a lot by just asking questions. But what you do is you start to build your network with a lot of people. And remember, the more connected are, the more influence you can have. Knowledge of our industry. ASI has so much industry about this knowledge. It's constantly updated. Sign up for Council Program. You get it Tuesdays and Thursdays with late breaking news. Go to ASICentral.com and click on the news page. Articles there are being posted on a daily basis, and there's so much stuff in the archives there as well. Go to industry events and participate in Education Day. Okay, you'll learn specific skills there, but you also learn about the industry overall. And in the field of leadership, if there's leadership classes you can take, you might want to look into them. There's books on leadership as well that we'll get to in a little bit. Reach out to others. Be proactive about helping others if you want to grow and learn. As we said, start those conversations with how can I help? But what you also do is that you grow your skill set so you become more valuable, but you're starting to, again, have more connections within your organization. And so someone that you've helped might easily respond in kind when you need help. Open your world, expand your world with leadership experiences and life experiences inside and outside of work. So, I can't recommend more highly for people to volunteer someplace. Nonprofit, sports organization, scouts, local schools. What is it that you can do? Those volunteer opportunities that come with zero paycheck, but they're very fulfilling, and you can, learn leadership skills within them, especially when you step forward to, take charge of something. Coaching youth sports, primarily soccer, for 30 years, and it wasn't just coaching. I also ran an organization for 3 years. I ran our travel arm for 3 years. I ran an intramural league for 18 years. So there's a lot of administrating that I did there, and again, it's very very fulfilling, and you learn a lot. You learn a lot about what makes people tick, what motivates them, and how you can get more out of them. Walk towards wisdom. Growth almost always involves at least one of four elements. Rigorous self-evaluation, take those EQ classes. Honest feedback can come from your manager, but also from clients and coworkers. Counsel from others, that's just having time to sit down and talk with people and ask them what you can do better, and time. Going from someone who starts in the mailroom to, the president of the company just doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. So that's why you have to constantly be walking towards that learning, wisdom, growth, and make time to critically reflect on your experiences. Okay? What were the benefits from them? Examine past failures for lessons. Don't sit there and get stuck in that and obsess over failure. Recognize it, what you learned, and you grow from there. Seek out a mentor if you can. At ASI, we have a couple opportunities. We have something called PeerLink, which is really peer-to-peer mentoring, not an official mentoring program that are time-consuming and involve a lot of work. We host events that our employees can learn about departments, exactly what's happening in that department, skill swaps. So we have that peer mentoring. We also have a buddy system for new hires. A new hire is assigned someone in a different department as a buddy, and they connect for 90 days at a minimum. And the buddy just checks in on how the new employee is doing. any questions they might have. So if you have that opportunity to find someone who can mentor you, take advantage of it. All right, we have a leadership activity for you, and basically this is filling out a leadership skills plan. So the objective of this plan is to build a leadership skills development plan by selecting 3 of the attributes listed below that you feel you can most improve upon. And those attributes are the 10 lessons that we talked about. Plug those 3 into the chart below and fill in the necessary information. An example is provided on the chart. So if you'll see for that first column, this leadership skill to improve. And the example is to make more connections. And we know that the more connections we have, the more influence we have. And that next column, the growth activity or activities for each skill. So to make more connection, it might be to network outside of my team at company events and industry events. We tend to huddle with the people that we work with and that we know. And probably one of the biggest mistakes we make when we go to industry events is that if we go with a coworker, that's who we stay with, and we stay glued to them, because it becomes a little nerve-wracking when you have to start conversations with people you don't know. But at industry events, everyone's got credentials, and you know the person's name. It's right there on it, and you know by the color of it if they're a supplier or a distributor. So you should be able to have conversations, ask questions with them. In that right column, that's someone that can help you, people who can help. My manager, team members, co-workers. I mean, when you go to a networking event at a trade show, an industry trade show, whoever you go with, who do they know? Who do they think I should make a connection with? Or if you're in a larger company and you want to get to know people across different departments, who would be the right person to start with? And then that last column, you have indicators of success and what's the timeline. And this here we put down, grow my personal network by 3 people each month. Completely doable. Completely doable. But once you make those connections, you have to stay connected. Check in on them. You send an email if it's someone that you met at an industry show that's a supplier or distributor. Just check on how they're doing. Others in your company, just when you see them in the hallway, say hello, how's it going? Have those conversations. Chat them up on Teams. A variety of different things you can do. But by again, it's making this to-do list. By writing these things down and knowing what your plan is, it should be easy to attain the goals. So what leadership looks like. So this is Joanne Land. She's the president and CEO of Geiger. And this was in an article in Counselor Magazine. And I just want to read her quote. We often hear there is no I in team, but there's none in leader either. To be a leader, one needs to subordinate their needs to the needs of the team. They need to be able to communicate their vision, listen very well, ask probing questions, and enlist the enthusiastic support of the team to achieve that vision. Leadership is about trust, being self-aware and self-regulated. It's about overcoming one's fears and having courage to take the first step. It's about leaning in and not being afraid to get your hands dirty, and looking back and supporting others around you to succeed. And for women in a position of leadership, it's a balance. Often women leaders are categorized as the empathetic mom, or the educator teacher, or the B word for those who are overtly strong. Powerful women leaders are often siloed into one of these categories. We've all heard it, and sometimes we can say it. It's a wire successful women leaders balance. So Joanne Land's one of the biggest, oldest distributor companies in the industry on leadership. And I told you, there's some books I can recommend on leadership. There's a lot out there. You can find them easily. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that's Stephen Covey, a very good read, highly recommended. How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, another widely read book. John Wooden, Wooden on Leadership. He coached the UCLA men's basketball team's 12 championships in like a 14-year span. So he knows a thing about leading a group of young men. Good read. And then Tribes. We need you to lead us. That's Seth Godin, and he's very popular within the promotional products industry as a speaker and such. So these are 4 books that would be recommended. Again, you can find other books as well. Read biographies of world leaders, former presidents. You can learn from them as well. Speaking of former presidents, John F. Kennedy said leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. So again, walk towards that wisdom, learn everything you can. Okay, if you have any questions or comments, they can be sent to asieducation@asicentral.com. Again, my name is Joe Haley. Thank you very much.